Hey, it's Viviana and welcome back to my home darkroom. If this is your first time here, I'm a film photographer and I just absolutely love creating photographs this old school way in my home darkroom. And if you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. I really hope this video will be useful, interesting, and that it answers some of your questions regarding building your next home darkroom. I have to tell you, this is the second time I built a home darkroom. Second time around was much easier, but I remember it's very intimidating. It's scary. You struggle. But for me, it was so worth it. I love creating art in this space, and like I said, if I can answer any questions and make this journey easier for you, that is just awesome. I love doing that. So I took the time to also check how much the darkroom equipment is running nowadays. I relied on B&H Photo website and I rounded up the prices so it's not exact, but it was just to give myself and you an idea of what the price for your next darkroom might cost you, because you do not have to buy everything brand new. If you can afford it, that's awesome. I'm so happy for you. But if you're struggling like I did, there are other ways to create your darkroom without having to spend thousands and thousands of dollars, because I think it will be around that. And I will tell you throughout the video my experience, my journey, and most importantly, the essential tools that you will need to immediately start working in your home darkroom. And I'm a black and white film photographer, so some of the materials I will talk about are, I think, a little bit more limited than color photography, I believe, not so sure, but I think this will still be very helpful for you. And I want to start off the video with developing your film, equipment that you will need to develop your film. Now, you do not need a darkroom to develop film, but let's talk about it. I want to talk about it with you guys. When I started collecting my darkroom equipment, this was back in 2013/2014, and definitely back then, I feel like film photography for sure felt more of a forgotten or lost art form. Nowadays, it's coming back, which is awesome, and I love seeing that. Slowly, it's been growing, and people have been more interested in film photography. But I was a little worried that maybe you wouldn't be able to find darkroom equipment at a reasonable price, like back when I first started collecting darkroom equipment, because back then, like I said, no one cared about film photography. There were so many photographers that just wanted to get rid of their darkroom equipment. So I was very, very lucky that when I went to purchase one thing, they gave me just a bundle of other equipment. So it always felt like Christmas or my birthday. It was just, I was so grateful and excited. And I was worried that maybe nowadays it wouldn't be the same, because now it's becoming a little bit more popular. But I did find some things that secondhand, and I will tell you as I go on. So there is hope, you guys. Do not worry. I feel that you do not have to spend thousands and thousands on your next darkroom. So I just wanted to say that. Let's start off the video not weighed down by the impossibility of your dream coming true because of money. And I've been there. I struggled for so many years, and I would have just so much darkroom equipment stored in my tiny studio under my bed in the closet, just getting covered of dust and sometimes even mold by then. And it was just, sadly, it felt like a reminder of just giving up, So I know it's not that easy, and I will make this video the most helpful way I can, and that's being honest with you guys. So let's get started. Let's start off with the wet section of my darkroom, which is this half of my art studio. And this is where all the magic happens. This is where I feel holds the heart of my darkroom. I love it so much. I develop my film here, I mix my chemistry, I make my silver gelatin prints, and I see my photograph I see my photograph come to life. I truly love it. And let's just talk about the wet section as a whole first. I had this sink made. It's made out of concrete. I feel like maybe it's not the ideal material because, as some have pointed out, it might absorb chemistry. But for me, when I built it, it seemed like the best option and the cheapest option. So that's why I chose concrete. Thinking about it now, though, maybe I would have gone with tile. Still don't know. But, I've had this sink for about 2 years and it's going strong. It's really lovely. Now, the backsplash, that is material that was given to me. It was leftover material from a construction site. So that was awesome because I have to tell you, even though you try not to be so messy, you'll be creating a mess with water and just chemistry. So I do recommend a backsplash if you can. And I really recommend to have storage underneath the sink. And I want to make a note. I really, really recommend having enough space to start. Now that's for later on. Never mind. That's for later on. So now, running water, which I think is very, very important. Now, I know that if you're on a budget and you're using a closet, maybe you can't have running water. Ideally, you should have running water. And I recommend being able to control the temperatures of your water. My temperature control isn't that great, but I get there after some work, but I do get it. I do have a filter too. I recommend having a filter, especially where I live. There's tons of minerals and it's just really harsh water. So I invested finally in a water filter. So that's under my sink. I have my ventilation. I have an exhaust fan right above my sink. It's this one over here. And it's very important to not have any light coming in from the exterior. So you have to really investigate what kind of fan exhaust you should get. Mine is an economical one. It's small. To make it where the chemistry fumes don't really stay down here, because honestly, this by itself isn't good enough. I also have a fan on the opposite side of my sink, just a regular small fan that will push the chemistry fumes, like give it more of a push up the exhaust fan. So that's very helpful. And I really recommend one. Yeah. So now let's talk about the tools that you need. If money isn't an issue, stainless steel sinks are the best. I was checking out B&H Photo website, and they do have sinks that you can custom make there. And for a while, I did own a stainless steel sink, which I believe I purchased for $100. It's smaller than this. It was okay to use when I was only developing 8x10 photographs. It was barely big enough for that, but I hardly ever print paper that size. I always go for 11x14 or 16x20 when I can afford it. So I don't use that sink anymore. I actually have it stored upstairs. But if you can afford one, or if you're able to get your hands on a stainless steel sink, I do recommend it. And I just wanted to point that out. Also, I think you can custom make a sink on B&H. You have to check that out to confirm. I don't remember, but you can order one for sure. I did see that. They're pretty expensive. So if you can find one that is, Used, secondhand, definitely look for one. I just noticed that I did not write the prices for each item, but I did for, I would say, 80% of the things I'm going to talk about. So unfortunately, I'm not going to point out the price for every single thing. I was hoping to do that, but I did not. So to start off with, I love using stainless steel tanks and reels to develop my film. There is another option. There is the Patterson, I believe, that are made out of plastic. I have never used them. I am familiar with them because I remember other classmates using them in school. I was not taught using them. I was taught using the stainless steel, and that is why I'm totally biased. I really, really love them, and I think they're a great option. So if you're gonna start learning, developing your own film, try stainless steel. And if you're a beginner in developing your film and shooting film, most likely you're shooting 35mm film. So I would recommend that you'll need this stainless steel reel for 35mm. It's very different than if you're shooting 120 or medium format film. This is the stainless steel reel that you'll need. Now, you can use either reel for the tanks. Now, the difference is that with this bigger one, obviously you can fit two of the 120 reels. You can fit, I believe, still only 2 of the 35mm. Now, if you have the smaller one, only 1 of the 120 stainless steel fits in here. And I believe, let me see. Oh, and it fits 2 of the 35 in here, but only 1 of the 120. Now, I believe, and I do see it, there are some really small tanks for only 1 35mm steel reel. So that's good. Now, these here, I do not really use. This, I believe, was given to me, with other film photography equipment, and it's very stuck. It's all stainless steel. I would recommend getting one with the plastic lids. They're a little bit more easier to work with, but there's 3 different sizes of tanks, and I would recommend to maybe not waste your money on a small one. You could always work with the bigger tanks. If you have only this size tank and you're only developing one roll of film, you can still put another empty reel in here. So when you're developing the roll of film, you don't have so much movement. As you can hear, it's more compressed, At least this is what we used to do in school. Because if you only had one reel in here, you'd be making more noise. I mean, I don't think it harms your film. I'm not sure, but I was just taught that if you're only developing one roll of film, just put an empty reel as well in here when developing it. So that's why I think it is important to just spend the money on this. Most likely you will be developing 2 at a time, and do invest in at least 2 of the stainless steel reels. Yes, I would purchase 2 of these. And if you're only shooting 120, I would go for the bigger one too, so you can develop 2 rolls at a time. If you do not have a darkroom and you plan to develop film without the need of a darkroom, I do recommend, and most likely this is the only way you can develop film without a darkroom, is by using a black changing bag. This one still has a price on it, and I don't know from what year it is. This was a very long time ago. This is a large changing bag. It's 27 inches and it cost me back then $28.75. $28.75. So let's check it out. And I've had to use this in the past and I hated it because developing film is already a little challenging, and when you're nervous, man, this one's really big. I never used one this big. I'm not sure why it's this big. I definitely used one that was smaller. Yeah. But, so, this really big changing bag. So what you do is that you end up putting all of your developing tools in here. Your film, the tanks, the reels. And if you're doing 35 millimeters, you're going to need you're going to need scissors, and you're going to need, I believe, like a can opener. This is to open up the film container. Now, when you're doing 120 film, you do not need scissors nor a can opener. You're fine. So you put them in the bag. Which has 2 zippers. You're going to store everything inside. And you're going to do this over a table. And then you're going to put your hands through here. So if you're over a table, you can do everything that you need through the bag. For me, it was very hard to not get sweaty hands from the nerves, but it's possible. So you do not need a darkroom to develop your film if you do purchase a changing bag. And if you do develop your film in a darkroom, all that matters is that when you are developing your roll of film, you do it in complete darkness. So you do need to make sure that your darkroom is completely sealed from exterior light, or also you need to pay attention that you don't have any other light in your darkroom on, either from your phone, from your AC, from a watch, something. You need to really pay attention to your space being completely dark, completely pitch black. And if you've watched my videos in the past and you're seeing how I develop my film in the darkroom with the lights on, that's only happening because I already secured my film in the tank with the lids on. Once you do that, you can turn on the lights. And the next thing on the list that I think is very, very important is the Grab Lab timer. Now, I was so shocked to see how much they run for. I believe it was about $270 brand new. I definitely did not pay that for this one. And I have a couple of these type of timers because when you do contact a film photographer that is trying to get rid of their equipment, most likely they will have one of these as well. I also recommend for your film, your negatives, once they are developed and you take them out of your tank and you're finally looking at your photos, you have to hang them to dry. Now, I recommend the stainless steel hooks, and as you can see, it opens right here. You will clip your negatives right there, set them to dry. If this is out of your budget because you're already buying so much stuff for your darkroom, you don't need it. You can also just use a clip like this. I recommend having these either way, even if you do purchase these here, because when you hang your negatives, you'll want to connect one of these on the bottom for some weight. A thermometer. Temperature is very, very important. Please do buy a thermometer. You're going to need that. Something to stir your chemistry. I use this especially when I am using powdered chemistry like Kodak Developer and such. So I have some that are specific for my developer and others for the fix. And gloves, now that I think of it. Gloves are so important. Now, for the longest time, if you've been following me for a long time, you will notice that I wasn't accustomed to using gloves when developing film. And that's honestly just because I was taught not using gloves. And of course, like I mentioned, developing film can get messy. Whenever I would get chemistry on my hands, I would just automatically rinse them with water. I wouldn't just let my hands soak up the chemistry. So I didn't really think it was that important. But honestly, gloves are so cheap, it doesn't hurt to use them while developing. I take them off once I start doing the water rinse with my film. So you will see me developing my film. If I don't have my gloves on anymore, that's because I'm not working with the chemistry and just water rinsing my film. Which reminds me, if it's in your budget, getting yourself a film rinser washer, which is this one here. This is the Miller Hurricane, and it connects to water, and it will just, it's awesome. It just really washes your film amazingly, and I always put my film here for about 10 minutes. This I do right before doing the photo flow on my film. Now, I don't think I saw a price for this, but if you can't find one, all you have to do is open the faucet and just let it run in the tank continuously. Maybe you want to flip the film, the reel, so it's really, you just really want to make sure you're rinsing off all of that chemistry. So you don't need that, but if you can afford it and if you can find one, I really recommend to get a film washer. And archival sleeves for your negatives. Now, after all of this work for your negatives, you want to store them correctly. So let me show you what you'll need. There's different variations, but the most important is that it has to be archival safe, acid free. It's so important. This is for my 120 film. I would buy it for all of my film, 35 and 120, and you will store them in a specific binder. In a binder like this, okay? You can purchase this in any photo website, and they're very important. Now, those two, you want to store them correctly. After, like I said, so much work and passion and love that you have for your photographs, store them correctly. Cotton gloves, very important. Once you're, like I mentioned, working so hard on your film and you have beautiful negatives, you want to treat them with love and care. So this is where cotton gloves are so important. Normally, you just buy a big bag. I bought this one, and it's just archival methods. It's great. I use them all the time when handling my negatives. Also, when I have to spot my prints, I wear cotton gloves. Ooh, we have not talked about storage bottles for your chemistry. So I use this brand here, Delta, and this is 1 gallon worth. I would recommend buy 3 of a gallon. Now, all of this you'll see as you work in the darkroom. Depends what kind of film photographer you are. If you're like constantly leaving your house with your film camera and shooting film all the time, then I'm guessing you're going to be developing a lot and working in your darkroom. So you might as well get a big container for your chemistry. You would need at least 3, one for your developer, your fixer, and your stop bath. But it depends on what kind of chemistry you're using. So I remember when I used Ilfosol 3, I believe. I wouldn't store it in here because it's a one-stop developer, so I wouldn't reuse it. So this is for chemistry that you're going to be reusing, like your stop bath and certain fixer. Now, there are smaller sizes, such as this one right here. So if you're not going to be developing that much, you can store it in something smaller. Also, because chemistry, the lifespan of it will last more if you have the correct temperature, if your space isn't too warm or hot. But also, I believe if there's a lot of air room inside, that does it some damage. Now, for all of those that are photo experts that totally get the chemistry side of photography, thank you if you comment down below, because you guys are just, I'm always grateful for you guys pointing out things that I clearly still do not understand. So this is my very basic understanding that if you store very few, a little bit of chemistry in a big container, it won't last that long because of the air inside. Correct me if I'm wrong. So it just depends on what kind of photography you're gonna be. You could just start buying something smaller, but then if you end up knowing, like, working a lot and then you purchase bigger ones, I mean, sometimes it's just gonna happen. You'll just have to learn along the way. I obviously use both sizes, but I'm constantly working in here. So there's that. What else? Okay. Oh, the Patterson plastic beaker. I have 32 ounces, but I also have 42 ounces. I really like using the bigger ones. Now, some of these came with 2 in 1, so that's awesome. I am constantly using them. I also use these that I don't even know where I got them from. I think just like a whole bundle of photography stuff. These, as you can see, seem more like kitchen stuff, not photo related, but I also use them. If you were to buy the Patterson plastic beaker, 32 ounces, they run for about $14 brand new. So to end the section of developing film, I want to share with you different options that you have to dry your negative. Now, I use mainly this drying cabinet that was given to me. This was given to me along with my drying rack for my prints. But this here, this was mainly used attached to the wall. It has a couple holes down here below, but I do not have it attached to the wall. I just have it supported above this drying rack. Now, you can see this roll of film. It was really badly developed. I don't know where I went wrong with this one, but that's why it's still here. You can see how it's being hooked on the stainless steel, and how it's also how I put this down here to weigh it down. Now, I love it. It's great. This is a great intermediate because there's a really fancy way to dry your film and there's the basic way. Let me share with you the fancy way. This is a drying cabinet that was given to me. I used to rent this darkroom back in California in Sand City, and we used to have one that was working. This was in the studio, broken. It does not work, and it was given to me. I knew it wasn't working, but I brought it all the way to Mexico thinking that sometime, somewhere, somehow I would get it checked out and working again. But I haven't throughout all these years. But this is a drying cabinet. I have things stored inside, many easels and such, but this is where you hang your film to dry. And you turn it on, it heats up, so instead of waiting for your film to dry for a couple of hours, it will literally do it in like 20 minutes, which is really awesome. But for me, it's not that crucial because I'm in no rush to have my film dry ASAP. I think this is very convenient for people that, like back in the day when you would work in film photography and you had a deadline. So very, very convenient. Maybe sometime in the future I will get it fixed, but until now, I'm using my drying cabinet, my wooden one, which is awesome. I love it, truly. And the cheapest way to dry your negatives, you can just hang them on a piece of rope. The most important thing is wherever you decide to hang your negatives, please have it where there isn't much dust or possible dust traffic, because your film will be very, very, very sensitive and you just want to store it and let it dry in a clean environment. So cheap way, the rope. Okie dokie, guys, I think we are set to talk about the dry section of the darkroom. Now, I really recommend to take a break, go get something yummy to drink, to snack on. This video is gonna be pretty long, so let's continue. This is the dry section. And you know what? I think we should just talk about the most expensive thing on the list of the dry section. And that has to do with the Enlarger. Now, I use a Bessler Dichro 67S, which is a color enlarger. And yes, I did say that I only develop black and white, which is totally true, but I still rely a lot on the color head here. So I use both the magenta and yellow as filters for my prints. And this is a way where I do not have to buy individual filters, which I will share with you right now. So you might have seen, if you've been watching videos on darkroom printing, many photographers using filters. Now, a lot use the magenta, others use yellow. It just depends on the type of contrast you're trying to achieve with your photograph. So instead of using these, I use the filters within my Enlarger. So it's very convenient, and I only have these because they were given to me with other darkroom equipment. But I have actually never really used them. Back in school, for black and white photography, we all used color enlargers, which was very, very convenient, especially when I make test strips that are using a grid, which is a double exposure. I don't know why I'm blanking out on the name, but it's a split grade contrast type of test strip. And that is by, like I said, using 2 exposures. I'm trying to see if I have an example somewhere. Thought maybe on my wall of failed photos that I might have, but maybe here? No, I don't. Okay. Now, when I was looking for prices on enlargers, they're very expensive. Brand new, they run for, I think the cheapest one brand new, or at least like when you buy not off of second hand, is at least $1,500. And they don't come with a lens most of the time, so that's something else that you have to take in account. That, oh, I don't have it there. I started storing my lens properly because a couple months ago I found that my Enlarger lens had mold, and that's not good. So I store them now. So you would have to purchase a lens, and that's another price. So before I start talking about prices, I want to talk about prices on the lens. I want to talk about the Enlarger. Like I said, the cheapest one I saw online that's a Bessler is about $1,500. I also saw that they had on the B&H photo website the Intrepid Enlarger that actually I've used in the past. I was given an Intrepid Enlarger by Intrepid themselves, and I used it for about a year. And it's very cool. It's tiny. It's so tiny. And I believe it's about $300, almost $400. But again, it does not come with a lens. A lens alone is around $300. So you have to take that in account. I will make a separate video on just talking about the Intrepid. I haven't done so yet, I think. But I did like it. But honestly, both Enlargers, this Bessler and the Intrepid, were given to me, and I really, really love using the Bessler. I think I use it much more than I do the Intrepid, but it's also how I have it displayed. I have this Enlarger on this baseboard, and it's much more convenient. When I was using the Intrepid, I had it on, instead of a base like this, I had it on a tripod, and it was just tedious. I didn't really like it, but I feel like that's more on my end, you know. I could have also purchased a board to put the enlarger on, but I didn't. I think that would have made things much easier. But if I were a photographer and I need to buy an enlarger brand new and I cannot get one cheaply, I think I would buy the Intrepid because like I said, this is at least 1,500. I would start off with something cheaper, and it was decent. It was good. I used it and I feel like I did produce some really beautiful photographs. But like I said, most of the time it does not include the lens, and the lens is expensive. Now, talking about the lens, I use, let's see, this is a 50 millimeter. I always need to use either a 50 or let me see what the other one is. It is a 75. I don't know why I'm always thinking 80, but 75. Now, let me tell you why. The 75 is for when I'm working with medium format film. I need to use a 75 millimeter lens. When I am working with 35 millimeter, I need to use the 50 millimeter lens. So that already, if you're buying brand new lens, that's already $600. So it's just something to keep in mind. But I'm very, very fortunate and lucky that I was given this enlarger. I didn't pay for it. But if you need to purchase one, it's about that price. But let me remind you, I did find some things online on Craigslist and eBay, and I'll put a photo here right now to not discourage you. I found photographers still selling their enlargers at a very reasonable price in a good or excellent condition. So there's that option. Also, I'll share another photo of photographers selling one item, but then they just include many other things. So you can still get a bundle of darkroom equipment for a very, very small price. So that is the treasures that I want you to find. That is what I want you to, if you're going to invest time searching for darkroom equipment, I hope it's doing it cheaply using websites such as Craigslist and eBay. Also, like I've mentioned in the past, tell everyone, literally everyone, that you are exploring film photography, the art of film photography. Tell your coworkers, your family, your friends, your neighbors. Tell people, share that part of yourself to others, because you would be surprised at how many people know of others or they themselves have darkroom equipment that they want to get rid of, and they want to help out. They want to support your dream. And even if it's someone you don't really know, like I said, maybe a neighbor or someone in your neighborhood that you don't really talk to, but they somehow heard, they will reach out and they will help you out. I've had surprising so many different type of people in my life, connect me with darkroom treasures. So please do tell people, tell them, and you'll find some awesome equipment. So I don't want to discourage you thinking that you have to spend already almost $2,000 on an enlarger. So it doesn't have to be that way, you guys. It doesn't have to be that way. Which reminds me, since I'm already talking about lens and enlargers, and I'm so sorry for making this video so long, but when I talked about how I found my lens had slight fungus in it, which was like a mold, I was so bummed out because I had to invest in a brand new lens, and that was so expensive. And I also was investigating in a way to clean the lens, which there is an option, and I bought tools to properly open the lens and clean it, which I have not done because, good news, I found brand new lens within my darkroom equipment, because years ago someone gave me brand new lens, and at the time I just had so much stuff and I didn't even have a place to use it. And I was so close so many times just getting rid of it all, you know? And this time around, it was just a reminder of being grateful to myself for not giving up and how it paid back. So I did not have to purchase new lens. And this here saved me, as you can see, almost $700. So I know it's easy to say, but when someone's giving you something and you feel like you're not gonna make it justice by keeping it because you feel like you're not gonna use it and it could go to someone else, or it's weighing you down because it's just a reminder of something that might not happen and it's just collecting dust, you know, just think of the positive too. That dream might come true. And it did for me. It took many years, but it happened. So I hope this just inspires you a little bit, gives you a little bit of hope. I understand you. I've been there. Finally, we spoke about the most challenging thing to get into your darkroom, which is the enlarger and the lens. Now, along with what will make this work is you'll need the enlarger timer. So keep an eye on that. Sometimes they do come included with enlarger, other times they do not. And you really do need the timer. I don't think I got a price for a timer, but just keep it in mind, you'll need an enlarger timer as well. Also, a bulb for your enlarger. Mine uses an ESJ and it's about $17. Along with here in the dry section, what you will need is a grain focusing loop. This is to see if your photo will be in focus and before you print it, which is very, very important. And one of these brand new is $74. I have about 10 or 12 of them, all different styles and brands, because it's one of those things many film photographers just want to get rid of. So, like I said, please look for some. Making a contact sheet. This is a contact printer, custom proofer, print file, that's what it's called. So this is where I make my contact sheets. And I believe this brand new is about $110. In school though, we had very few of these to go along for all the students. So what many of us had to use if these were being occupied, it was just a piece of glass. So that's totally an option. But if you do use a piece of glass, make sure that you maybe put some tape around the edges so you don't cut yourself. That is very important. So when you're making the contact sheet, all you have to do if you're using the piece of glass is you put your photo paper, the negatives, and then the glass. So you just sandwich it, which is pretty much what you'll be doing here as well, right? Something else I was really surprised at how expensive they are is you'll be needing an easel. This is to print. I can print 11 by 14 on here, and I like that you can adjust it, but this is mainly for 11 by 14. This was given to me. A lot of my easels you will see have photographer's name on them, like the one I just showed you previously that says Joe Brenzo. She's a photographer here in San Miguel de Allende, Guanajuato. And I also have another one, I believe, Sharon. And yeah, so you'll see a lot of my easels with names on them from other photographers. I've never had to purchase one, and I'm very lucky I've never had to purchase one online, because that one I just showed you is about $400. There are other easels. This was an 8 by 10, and this one's really easy to use. I love it. Very basic. It's great. Oh, but on the back, we have for different sizes, so that's awesome. Another thing, I feel like what I've received a lot in bundles is definitely the grain focuser, print easels, and trays. So many trays, and I'll talk about that in just a moment, but just want to let you know there's hope for those, and thank goodness, because that was really expensive. I would recommend a light table. Full cleaning section with my light table. This is where I prep my negatives to put them into my enlarger. I will always have my cotton gloves here. The light table, this one was given, no. This one I bought in Goodwill. It's not specifically for film photographers, and I think I did not pay more than $14 for it. I have another light table. It needs a new bulb, but that one was given to me by my old boss. A new light table, a battery light table runs for about $160. I saw like a very tiny one, like I think it was like this size online, and it's battery sourced for $160. That seems like very expensive to me. I would try to look for something like this elsewhere, a secondhand. But I have that, and my cleaning supplies that I have this blower, very convenient. I also have this here to brush off some of the lint. And most importantly, I have these Peck Pad lint-free ultra soft non-abrasive wipes. Really recommend this, and it goes along with a little bit of droplets of this right here, which is an emulsion cleaner. I keep all of this on my light table, my section to clean my negatives. I forgot, and I'm so sorry. For your enlarger, I keep these over here as well. So this is the film carriers. You're gonna need a 35 and 120 depending on what you're using, but these are the film carriers that you need for your enlarger. So definitely that's something you have to add onto your list. And when printing, I always recommend some pieces of cardboard or black paper like this to do your test strips. So this is really easy to get. Safe lights. I have this one right here. It's not on. My darkroom is very small, and I have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 soft lights. I don't know why I said soft lights. I have about 5 safe lights on, and they're all very, very soft. They're very dim. That's why I have 5 in a really small space. But safe lights are very, very important. Depending on your size, the size of your darkroom will depend on how many of these safe lights you need. And let me see how much I wrote down here. So I saw that there was a darkroom safe light with the dimmer. It's 5.5 by 6.5 inches, and it was $50. This is something else that I recommend look for secondhand. I got many, many of these given to me. I believe, some tape is always good to have as well. I think that is the most crucial part of the dry section that I can think of in my dry section here. These are optional if your budget is still accepting more buys. But you could also buy these paper safe boxes to store your paper in. There's been incidents, even me nowadays, where I get distracted and I've turned on the lights before properly closing my box of photo paper. Like this. I do have tape around it, but there's been times where I didn't completely close it and it's a big scare. So you can always store it in here. This is just optional. If you can, purchase one. I still have a couple with paper in it, I think from like 10 years ago. I haven't used it yet. I think I'll try it for more lumen prints when I make them in the future. You guys, we're really close to the end of the video. Very, very close. I'm so happy. So what I need to talk about now are the trays. I recommend you buying 3 trays. You'll need buy 4 trays. You'll need 4 trays. So there are different styles of trays that I've learned that there are some that I hate. Let me show you the one I really truly love. So there's this tray that has this form here, right? That I use a lot because that's what I have mainly of. And then there's other ones with lines just going down. I personally prefer lines that are going down. For me, when I'm grabbing my print in the tray, it's much more convenient, or I prefer the ones with the line underneath. It's just easier somehow for me. So if I have to recommend one, it would be that type of tray. I also recommend that you get 4 trays. I use 3, and then you should label them. You need one for your developer, one for your shop, one for your fixer. And then I have another tray for all of my prints which is just a water tray, just to rinse off the chemistry while I'm printing. So I have this, which I have connected to my water source, and this helps wash all my prints in the water tray. You can buy something like this, or what I just recently bought, and it's huge. But I bought this. I bought this print washer for my 16 by 20 prints. A great way to properly rinse your prints. It's so important to properly rinse your prints. Yes, very important. If you properly wash them, they will get to live for a very long time, which is what we want for our art. We want it to live as long as possible. So definitely invest in a proper water rinse for your prints. You'll also want your set of bamboo tongs. This is the proper way to pick up your prints from each tray. You don't want to use your fingers, you want to use tongs. And I really like the bamboo ones. And they always sell them in sets of 3. Definitely buy 3 of these. I have 3 and they're all labeled. One is for developer, another one for the fix, and this one that's not marked is my stop. So definitely the funnels. And now we're going to talk about the extra that I recommend. I had this squeegee board made a couple of months ago, and I truly love it. This is where I squeegee off the excess water from my prints before setting them off to dry. And I had this made. I can't recall how much it cost me, but the person who made it for me had no idea what it was going to be used for. It was interesting trying to communicate what I was wanting, but I feel like he did a great job. I truly love it. Now I just purchased this squeegee. I haven't used it yet, but I used to use this all the time back in my old darkroom studio. This is a 14-inch squeegee. I love this style for my bigger prints. Until then, I was using the smaller one, but I feel like it gets more marks on the bigger prints, so I'm using that. So depending on the size of paper you're working with, you can buy the squeegee for that. And let's mark that off the list. Just a couple things left on my list, but if you can get a drying rack, I would recommend it for your prints. Now, this one was given to me before I used this. What I had before, I made there was this type of storage container that is used like in bathrooms. It had different trays. It was all metal. I found it on the side of the road in my neighborhood, and I thought to remove the baskets and just put a layer of, I believe it was like a screen protector or screen cover, like from a window, and that's what I put on each layer and I used as a drying rack. So you can make something like that. This one was given to me. It's all wood and it's fantastic. I love it. If you don't have something like this, what you could always do is just hang your prints like you would hang your negatives from a piece of rope. I did that for a very long time. and that's just something to keep in mind. As an extra, I would really recommend to get some mats. You do spend a long time working in the darkroom when printing. I can easily spend 6 hours in here. So having mats and like comfy shoes, very, very good. And a chair. A chair would be nice. It's a nice little luxury. Those are all extra things I would recommend. Not crucial, but very, very appreciated. And the last thing on the list that is very crucial, and I really hope you take this in consideration, is you will want to have a container, either a bucket or like I'm reusing this bottle container. You want something to store your expired fixer, which is a chemical that you're using. That is one of the chemicals that you should never, never, never pour down your drain. It's extremely toxic. It's very bad for the environment. Do not pour it down your drain. What I do, and I did this back in California too, like I'm doing now, I collect all of my expired fixer and I would take it to the dump, my local dump. They have a hazardous section, waste section, and I would just take my bottles, tell them what it was, and they wouldn't charge me. I would just take it and they would dispose of it as I guess it would be proper. And I did that for a very, very long time. So I really recommend to look into what your local laws are and your local dump and see how they can help you out. I was very fortunate that it was free for me, because I think for others there's a charge, but keep an eye on that. Please do. Do not throw the fixer down the drain, please. Even though we love the sunlight, my vet was saying that one of my cats, Draco's ears, were getting a tad sunburn. The sun here in central Mexico is very, very bright. So unfortunately for them, I bring down the blinds at this time of the day, just a little bit. So this is at the end of the video. Thank you so much. I truly had a great time sharing my darkroom and what I think is very useful and needed for those that want to build a darkroom. I myself needed a break. I got myself some tea and I'm so looking forward to just putting on my lazy, warm clothing, taking off my jewelry and my makeup, and just enjoying this rest of the afternoon. The house is really warm at this time, and I'm gonna spend the evening quietly and calmly with my little cats, and I just truly love it. So I hope you get to enjoy the rest of your day as well, if it's morning, evening, night. And like I said, I really hope that this video was useful, that it either inspired you or gave you that little bit of encouragement to finally purchase your first darkroom equipment. Either it be a grain focuser from a garage sale that's all dusted up, or a stainless steel tank that you found at Goodwill. Do get it. Have the courage to buy it. If you're able to, do it and try to make your dream come true. If it's been in your mind and in your heart for a long time, maybe it's time to give it a little try. Like I said, baby steps is totally fine, and wherever you are, however you feel in that stage of daydreaming, I hope you're getting closer. And you can count on me to always share my darkroom journey, my film journey, my art process, all the heartaches, all the headaches, and all the moments, all the joy, because I always have a mixture of them all. And yeah, we'll see each other next time. I really know I want to make a big silver gelatin print. I still have some 16 by 20 fiber-based paper. So if you enjoyed this video, if you like spending some time with me, I would really look forward to seeing you once again in my darkroom, sharing my art. And if you liked the video, please do press like. And if you really like the video and you're not subscribed yet, please do. I mentioned this in my last video. I have a little sale going on in my Etsy shop and in my website. As you can see in my house, I think you might see some Christmas decoration. It's Christmas almost. We're in November, but you know, we're close to it. So if you want to treat yourself or a loved one, and you can treat yourself, I encourage you to check out my website. I have some goodies there, some art. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much. Your time here with me means a lot.